Hello my lovelies, welcome back. Now in today's video, I want to talk about Mars and Synastry, particularly Mars opposite the Ascendant in Synastry. What do we get when we get this quite magnetic pairing? Well, the way I would describe this aspect in one sentence is a magnetic connection with a competitive edge. First of all, this aspect will create a magnetic physical connection, right? Immediately we are hot for each other. We're like, okay, I want you or I want you too. This is a quite mutual, the physical attraction. So this relationship is quite dynamic, quite passionate, and sometimes it depends on what elements we are dealing with, so what signs we are dealing with, but it can get a little aggressive. Sometimes it's outwardly aggressive, other times it is more a passive aggressive kind of energy. Specifically when we deal with water signs and earth signs, it's often very passive aggressive. Fire, it's very outwardly aggressive. Because Mars represents action and drive, like what I want, and how do I go after what I want? The Mars person also pushes the Ascendant person to grow, and very often the Ascendant person has their own idea of growth. So there can be power struggles and defensiveness and also competition in this pairing. And again, depending on what energy we deal with, what sign we deal with, that can be in a more passive or a more active way. And all of this usually happens when the Mars person becomes too dominant and the Ascendant person starts resisting. Like every time in an opposition, when we get to that point where, you know, the power dominance is like out of balance, that's where we have the big chance, right? The big chance to grow. Because once we realize that, we need to understand that we have to go inward. Because what we usually do is like we want to blame the other. We want to say, oh, look what they are doing. They are trying to dominate me. Or look what they are doing. They're so lazy. They are not getting anything done. They are not very motivated. They are not dynamic. They are yada, 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 whatever. But the idea here is to not look at what the other is doing, but just use the other as a mirror. What are they reflecting back? What am I holding inside? What can I learn here? What do I have to readjust within me? What does it remind me on? Sometimes, most of the time, the reminding is very subconscious, right? We often don't really remember. Well, sometimes we do, but often we don't remember what this actually reminds us on because it was implanted when we were not conscious, right? Whatever we experienced, whatever we saw as children, we play it out in relationships so we can realign internally. So that's where we start, right? That's where we start. We do the inner work. And I believe when we do that, the way this aspect can work really well if we have shared goals, if we have shared projects that we want to get done. This is a beautiful aspect to literally build something together. If we can channel that energy into shared goals and projects instead of conflict, we will really thrive. But I believe this takes inner work for both people. It never works when just one person does the inner work. It just will not work because you whoever you are, right? You're either the person that does the inner work or the other, but you will move away from the other. You will lose that connection because the reason you met at first was, there was something you held inside that needed some work. We all do. So are you willing to learn and then to grow together, or do you just want to learn and then grow apart? That is also an option here, right? It's always an option. So overall, this relationship is filled with passion, desire, chemistry, but also action. And it needs healthy boundaries and cooperation to work fully, to get the best out of it. And when I talk about healthy boundaries, I talk about coming back to self, coming back to loving yourself. It always takes us back. I don't care which aspect we're talking about, but it always takes us back to what is loving. Are we loving towards ourselves when we act a certain way, when we do certain things, when we are being a certain way? Is it loving to self, and is it loving to the other? If it's loving to self, it will automatically be loving to the other. But if it's coming from an ego perspective, and if it's coming from a place of, oh, I have to protect myself, that's why I have to be this way, then it's generally not loving. You will know when it's loving because it will feel peaceful. You will feel at ease, not just for a moment. When we act out from a place of ego, we in that moment will feel better, right? We feel like, okay, we're protecting ourselves here, we're standing up for ourselves. But it will dissipate. It will not feel peaceful. You might, to a certain degree, feel safe because you put up a boundary, but it will not feel peaceful if it's not coming from a loving place. It is just not possible. Peace and love are higher vibrations. The ego vibration are very low. Ego vibrations are shame, guilt, anger, resentment. All of those lower vibrations, I'm not saying they are bad, right? Hear me. They are not bad. Nothing is bad, but they are just not helpful. They're just not going to lead you to lasting peace. They will give you momentary peace because you're feeding the ego, and the ego is like, oh, okay, safe. But it's not lasting. So you want to work through whatever you need to work through in your life to get to that place of love and peace. And it is a conscious decision, right? It is also becoming more conscious, becoming more aware of yourself. So, yeah. Let me know if you have any questions about this particular aspect or any other aspect. Maybe you want to see a specific aspect that I haven't made a video about yet. So let me know in the comment section. You can also book a reading by clicking on the link in the description box. And yeah, I wish you a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you in the next video.